We're here at CIO Day in Hilversum, and I asked people who are the best speaker, and they said Mr. Diana. He's a futurist for Tata Steel Consultancy, been there for 14 years, worked as an executive in the industry, the IT industry for a long time, and he knows how to think about the future. As a trend watcher, I always look at current trends, he looks at the future. Let's talk about AI and the future. Frank, nice to talk to you. You are very popular with the public because you basically could give context to the innovation around AI. We're all looking at that thing, you know, and it's another wave of IT. How will that penetrate our companies?
So it's bigger than another wave of IT as far as I'm concerned, right? This is a paradigm shift that AI is driving.
It's not just another cloud thing or something else.
No, I get that question all the time.
Yeah.
Is this just the next metaverse or blockchain?
Yeah.
Right. It's not. It's
not.
Fundamentally a world-altering phenomenon.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's really, it has much more to do with human, and then the fundamentals and our brain and our everything. Yeah.
And more and more people appreciate that now. So ChatGPT did us a service.
Yeah.
Right. It opened eyes.
Yeah.
And so as we watch AI get embedded in everything, as we watch global challenges accelerate its path. So think about health and wellness and finding cures for some of our chronic diseases.
Preventing war.
All those, climate change.
Communication problems.
All of that, right? Yeah. Now we have a mechanism to at least help accelerate our path. And so as that accelerates, the critical need for leaders to accelerate as well is going to happen, right? So we have struggles within businesses in adopting these things aggressively, but it's not going to be a choice.
Yeah. Now we always look at leaders. Leaders need to do leader. But isn't AI also interesting because everybody is going to use it? Will it make leaders much more smart? They always had much more information than us. Or will it make normal human beings, normal workers more smart? What we always said, give people at the lowest level the information, and then we'll decentralize, will work much better. What do you think about that?
The diffusion of knowledge is going to empower everybody.
Yeah.
Right. So it, clearly, to your point, is going to help society across society in terms of equality of knowledge that we just haven't had ever. Right. And so as that occurs, it's interesting because then even individuals are going to contribute to an innovation journey that, again, accelerates, right?
Okay. So what can we learn about the past? How some big thing like this, you know, like the telegram, the telephone, communication, major innovations. How do you see AI influence society, change our society?
Well, that's a great question. So I always I use
easy question.
I use electricity as the example. Right, yeah. So it's a general purpose technology, and AI will clearly be a general purpose technology. And so I've looked at how do they evolve. So electricity evolved over 40 years, and it started very basically replacing the steam engine in a factory.
Yeah.
Very simplistically though, because all it did is replace the energy source.
Yeah. The steam engine and electric. Yeah.
Right. But then every machine got a motor. Now you can turn that motor on and off independently. You no longer have to run that steam engine or electricity all day, right?
Yeah. Al Gore did that, right? He said the factory was around the steam engine.
Exactly.
And 3 levels high, and then it became flat, and it took 50 years before we implemented it.
Yes,
yeah.
Right. So
will it take 50 years for AI to?
But so let's overlay AI on top of that,
yeah.
Right? And I always use the emergency room as an example. AI is going to help the doctor understand the person that just walked into the emergency room, did they have a heart attack or not? But then the doctor's still going to make the decisions on what to do.
Really?
Second phase, AI.
Second
phase, AI will assess and be the decision maker for the next steps.
Yeah.
Third phase, we completely reimagine the emergency room. You may never have to go because in your home, AI said you didn't have a heart attack, relax, don't go. Or you're experiencing this, I just sent medicine to your home. Right, so just think about it won't take 40 years.
Yeah. So it's with healthcare. It's really interesting. You have to wait a long time. You only get a small amount of time. The doctor has a small amount of time. There's a lot of administrative shit.
Yep.
And to have a beautiful, wonderful AI, which is which has a lot of empathy.
Yep.
They had this test, right? I mean, they had 1,000 people talking to doctors, 1,000 people talking to ChatGPT, and everybody loved the ChatGPT. Loved the empathy, loved the thoroughness, and the quality was also higher.
Yeah.
Because doctors are always in a hurry and they have to make fast decisions and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I see version 1, 2, and 3 coming. But let's talk about some other simple question. we're going to have a lot more production, right? Because the people are going to be more effective, more efficient, less mistakes, less high quality. Who's going to profit? Who's going to keep their job? How we're going to divide up the amount of what we make with our labor? The Dutch. What are you? Where are you from?
American.
Yeah. So the Dutch versus American. How do you think our two countries will do that differently?
So I started by looking at history in my presentation today.
Yeah.
And if we look back at history, one of the periods that looks very much like ours is the Luddite period when the factory was born.
Yeah.
Right. And of course we know what happened. There was a 40-year downturn in terms of human misery or upturn. And so in that day, leaders wouldn't make the hard decisions to deal with that labor versus capital issue. We see similar signs, obviously, in terms of what automation and AI might do to jobs and work.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter where you are, it's a global problem. And so globally, we have to make some tough decisions in terms of what we're going to do to support society as this progression continues.
Yeah, but I mean, the Americans, you doubled your income in the last 30 years. And the lower 60% got nothing, and the upper 1% got 20% of it, and a little bit between. The Dutch, we're much better at higher taxes. We compensate people on the lower scale. We give them good education. Everybody says, okay, a lot of people will lose their job because a lot of people, even with AI, won't be productive enough to be useful. Basic income kind of questions. But the Americans, they don't like that kind of stuff. If you don't work, you shall not eat. And how do you think that will develop over time?
So the social contract, which you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Better in some places, not so good in other places. My perspective is obviously that the social contract, no matter where you are, has to be addressed. There are no choices, right? If you go through this decade, and this is not a prediction, it's just if you look at the signs, by the end of the decade, this work discussion is going to be pretty acute. And societal unrest through history has always been it's always undone various eras.
Yeah.
We just don't need to be in a place where societal unrest undoes our current era. So it's going to have to be addressed, no matter where you are.
Yeah. When will this question be important? Not at this election, not at the next election, not at the next election. When? In how many years? In 10 years?
It should be important now.
Oh.
But I think the urgency will only elevate when the issues are more visible. And people don't like to actually see the issues today, but they're going to become more visible.
Okay, I'm just going to try to get you more into concrete things, right? Let's talk about your healthcare, level 1, 2, 3. How many years? How many years before we have level 1 that the doctor... No, we're having an interview, yeah. Level 1, that AI will be an assistant to all the professionals and actually to everybody. How long will that take?
So,
give me a number.
You're pushing me into a prediction which I don't believe in.
Oh.
So in my work, I talk about rehearsing the future, not trying to predict it. And the reason I do that is, as I went through in my presentation, there are so many variables,
it's complex.
So many domains that are in a state of chaos that as they intersect, they're going to make one prediction look silly. So for example, if we just focused on AI and then look at all the societal trends, demographic trends that are influencing the path of AI, then these predictions just, I could tell you I think it's going to happen in 5 years, and then something happens globally that just undermines that completely.
Yeah, well, I basically was into it when the PC came. I said, this will take 20 years before everybody has a PC. Then the internet came, I thought, now this goes much faster because people are used to it. It will take 10 years before we have 50% of the people using it. And then, of course, mobile came and all that. And now we have AI. Everybody has it already. With you have ChatGPT, and everybody says, wow, wonderful, 100 million people will use it in 3 months. Well, they took one decision and gave it in Snapchat. In Snapchat, the first contact on your list is the AI Snapchat, and suddenly 300 million people had it. It can roll out much quicker, and Adobe puts it in, and SAP puts it in, and Tata puts it in. It will be very fast, I think. It will be an incredible fast. I think next year all the packages will have it somewhere in their package.
I completely agree with you.
Okay.
All right. So, but if you're talking about the healthcare system and that 3-step progression, right? Geopolitically, we're as unstable as we've been in a long, long time. So anything can happen to disrupt that progression, right? So that's why I Help you
Of
predict.
course, numbers are always a pain. That is, I totally get that. Okay, then if we then look at next year, a lot of things will happen. Everybody's busy putting it in.
Yeah.
I think, but I don't know if you agree. I think one of the most important things that that AI will do is that we will not have to adapt to the computer like we have been doing for 60 years, but I can talk to the computer and it will understand me, and I can say it in my convoluted way. I can say it in any order. I don't have to put this in that field and that in that field. I don't have to follow those processes. It will adapt to me. And that is a big change in IT, because normally we're saying, you're a human being, do this. And now this human being can do it in his own way, and AI can basically be the bridge. Is that something you see happening for the future?
Yeah, and I would define computer more broadly in that we're going to be talking to humanoid robots that will respond to us in that natural language, much like the prompt in ChatGPT does.
Yeah.
Right. So already we see humanoid robots that are embedding generative AI, and so our future is collaborative future with robots, where that kind of computer-human discussion is happening with a robot, not necessarily a computer.
Yeah. 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years?
Next year we'll be doing that.
Okay, good. Then, what do you do yourself with AI?
So interestingly, as a futurist, I have to understand where things might be going and be close to trends, as you described, right? So now I use generative AI as the front end of my work. So signals, I'm looking for signals, geopolitical signals, societal, economic, science, technology. A lot to look at.
Yeah.
Right? So generative AI has made that piece of the process much easier.
How do you do that? You basically have all these information lines. They come into ChatGPT, and you basically prioritize it or organize it, or how do you work?
We're asking questions. So basic questions are, if I'm looking at, for example, health and wellness, and I ask it, give me some examples of what might change in health and wellness space in the next 5 years. Right? Then it does that brilliantly.
Which one do you use?
A number of them. I test them against each other.
Yeah, which one?
So ChatGPT, Bing, Bart.
Bart and Bing. Yeah, Bing is a little bit different. So Bart, you also look at Bart.
Yeah.
Which other are you using? Have you looked at Cloud or some other?
The team has. My team has. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, the most important things are Bart and you compared.
Yeah, because I don't want hallucinations to. So I actually test them against each other. And then we ask what
do you think of the two? What do you think of the two?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the GPT-4 progression has made a step function improvement. I can't wait to see what happens next out of OpenAI. Because based on what they said at that conference,
we had a nice weekend. Did you follow it the weekend? It was,
oh my gosh!
It was like exciting.
Soap opera.
The soap opera. How to destroy a $90 billion company in a weekend? You know, like, how stupid can you be with Sam? You know, the CEO and the president has been fired and go to Microsoft, and now 90% of the company wants to quit and go to Microsoft. They came out okay, huh? That's really unbelievable. That guy. We think actually, some people think that Sam Altman will be the next president of Microsoft. That this is just an expensive acquiring process.
Could be.
And also Microsoft went up 2% in value after Sam joined, which is 50 billion.
I saw that.
Yeah, so
top in the bucket.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, what is the role of a futurist in Tata Services?
So both inwardly focused in terms of our research agenda, understanding where we might go. And then outwardly focused both in terms of sessions like these and dealing with the C-suites and boards of our company, our customers.
Yeah, you inspire people for the next step. How is it to work for an Indian company? You've been doing it for 13 years. Do you feel it's an Indian company, or do you feel it's an international company?
So I've been doing it for 13 years, and it's clearly a global company that I'm looking for, and so it gives me all kinds of opportunity to talk to a global market.
Of course, but I mean, is there a core Indian? Is there some DNA in there, which, you know, Americans are, even though they're global, it's very much an American company, the German, the Swiss, the Dutch. What about an Indian company? How do they work? And how?
Not very different than all the companies I've been with through the years, right? There's definitely a culture, like every company, right? An Indian culture in this case.
Yeah.
Same as any company I've worked for in the past.
Okay. Can you predict how India will do in the next decade?
I will not. I will not.
Okay, but what's your impression? I mean, are they where China was 15 years ago, and the next decade will be big for India. What you've seen,
I clearly believe it's going to be big for India, and they're so digitally advanced in terms of some of the things we're talking about here.
Yeah. So we are going to the next decade. The coming decade will be the Indian and the AI, and also nicely combined in Tesla and in Tata services. Thank you very much, Frank. Appreciate it.
Thank you.